Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Hot day here in the capital city and around the Palmetto States. Some rain up in Durham delayed things, pushed the schedule back, forced Clemson to wait a couple of hours past their scheduled start time. But you know what? So far, it's been worth the wait. Let's go live to Durham Bulls Athletic Park. Kevin McCrary is at the ACC tournament. Good evening, K-Mac. Good start for the Tigers about midway through this game against Louisville.
Great start for the Tigers against the top seed in this tournament, Louisville. And Clemson are playing regionals next week, and they are on their way to doing that. A 5-1 lead over the Cardinals, 5 runs on 7 hits for Clemson. And remember, Louisville has their ace, Kyle Funker, on the mound. This is a guy, a first-team All-ACC selection, a guy that most expect to go in the first round of the Major League Draft next month. They are shellacking him, and they beat him earlier in the season with a turnover on the mound at Doug Kingsmore. 3 runs in the first for Clemson, 2 more in the second, and they lead 5-1 here. Zach Irwin strong on the mound for the Tigers here as they lead in the top of the 5th inning.
By a count of 5-1, as you mentioned. If you can, give us the line on Irwin so far. Obviously, he's been very, very good.
Yeah, he has been very good, Corn, and I was just trying to pull up my stat broadcast. As you know, sometimes at these tournaments, the internet is in and out, and so I will get you his line. He's only allowed 4 hits here against the Cardinals. Hold on, I can update his status now as we get back. I was trying to give you the scoring, and I know we're up against a break here, so you might. Let me give you Irwin's line. He's pitched 4 1/3 now, 5 hits, 1 earned run. He struck out 5 and hasn't walked anyone. It's on 72 pitches right now, and he's been very, very good for the Tigers in this tournament. Remember, they lost against Florida State 3-1 yesterday, but they didn't play poorly. They outplayed the Seminoles. Really, they out-hit them, doubled them up in hits, didn't commit any errors, and only gave up 3 hits in 1 inning, and that was only 3 hits they gave up all game against the Seminoles. They just couldn't punch a run across when they needed to, but that has not been the case here today as they got started early in the first inning with Reed Roman driving in 2 with a single and then another RBI double by Oki to give them 3 runs, and they haven't looked back from there.
All right. Well, look, it's 5-1. Looks good for the Tigers. We'll come back to you in a little bit, and when we come back to you, go ahead and start figuring out what has to happen for Clemson to get to the ACC championship game out of pool play. I mean, obviously, they're going to need, if they hold on to win, they're going to need North Carolina to beat Florida State tonight or Louisville to beat Florida State tomorrow. And then Clemson will need to beat North Carolina tomorrow. We got a bunch coming up. We'll be right back. Clemson continues to lead Louisville 5-1. Get back to K-Mac in just a moment. Update other baseball from today. Lots of it, of course. Big South tournament. Winthrop stays alive. 2-1 win over Campbell. That game at Gardner-Webb. Longwood and High Point coming up in just a few minutes there. Coastal Carolina has the day off from their tournament. The CAA, Patriots Point in Mount Pleasant. And Charleston plays tonight at 8:30 against Elon. Northeastern beat William & Mary 3-2. Then William & Mary lost to Delaware 3-1. And then Wilmington is now leading Northeastern 6-2. That's in the bottom of the third. To the ACC, once again, the rest of the ACC action, the first game of the day. Again, things were delayed for a couple of hours because of rain. First game of the day in Durham saw NC State surprise Notre Dame 3-0. Clemson is leading 5-1 right now, and coming up it's North Carolina and Florida State. The Southern Conference Tournament in Charleston, they had rain problems yesterday, not so much today. Furman had a problem. Wofford was raining runs all over the Paladin, 16-7, that final score. The Citadel loses to Mercer 3-2. VMI knocks off Greensboro 6-5. So coming up, just getting underway, the Citadel's playing Greensboro, and then later tonight, Western Carolina plays Furman. And at the SEC tournament in Hoover, a couple of elimination games. Florida, no trouble with Auburn, 11-2, and Alabama beat Missouri 4-3. Right now, Texas A&M leading Vanderbilt 2-0. Once again, Vanderbilt falling behind early, trailing 2-0 in the bottom of the first inning. Major League Baseball, busy afternoon in Major League Baseball today as we have several final scores to tell you about and some games ongoing. Seattle and Baltimore had a rain delay, but they're in the eighth inning. It's 4-4 in Baltimore. Colorado leading Philadelphia 7-3, bottom of the eighth. San Francisco leading the Dodgers 2-0, top of the eighth. Finals, Mets over the Cardinals 5-5. And Arizona beat Miami 7-6. Braves open up the series at home with Milwaukee tonight. Mike Morgan will be here to preview that in just a little bit. A couple of other notes to pass along to you. We have practice today and qualifying tonight at Charlotte. Practice was held earlier today, and it was Carl Edwards, the fastest in practice at Charlotte, leading into qualifying tonight. His speed, he was the only one in practice to top 192 miles an hour. And we'll see if that foretells anything for him going into the qualifying tonight. 192.273. Jimmy Johnson was second quick, 191.673. Then it was Casey Kane at 191.639. Harvick, David Reagan, Brad Keselowski, Jamie McMurray, Kyle Larson all turned in times at over 191 miles an hour. The only two drivers to turn in 10 consecutive laps on the track in practice, Paul Menard at 185.545 and Tony Stewart 184.887. How much racing will you watch this weekend? You know, you've got the race in Monaco to start things off early in the morning on Sunday to take you to the Indy 500 at noon or 11 o'clock or noon, and then the Coca-Cola 600 at around, 6:15 or so to take you through the night. That's a lot of laps. I'm going to watch as many as I can.
That's too much engine roaring for me. Years ago, I couldn't watch a race because I was one of those train wreck people. You know, I don't like to watch something where you want to see something you don't want to see, and that is, come on, where's the first wreck? And so I decided to stay away from that. Now I look at the pit crew and see how they work as far as that's concerned. So
you watch the pit crews.
I love that. Yeah.
Jim Murray, of course, the great writer, had the most defining line in the history of motorsports writing about Indy. In previewing the Indy 500 one time, his lead line was, "Gentlemen, start your coffins." Just a great
Oh,
line.
yeah.
Just a great line.
Well, that's
gentlemen, start your coffins. Because, they say, gentlemen, start your engines, start a race.
I understand.
Get it? Gentlemen, start your coffins. All right.
Usually lower those, though.
We are we're wide open tonight here on Sports Talk, along with K-Mac from Durham. And our phone number is 800-956-7266. Love to hear from you tonight to talk about the baseball. Will Clemson, will the win tonight, if this holds up, and they're up 5-1 and threatening, will this put the Tigers in the NCAA tournament? And should it put them in Charleston, assuming Charleston gets a host role? We all cross our fingers and hope that that's the case. Love to see Clemson in a regional here in South Carolina, if indeed they do make it. Anything else you want to discuss tonight? NBA playoffs, a little preview of the football season. We can get into that as well. Start talking about the good and the bad of the football season, your likes and dislikes of your respective teams, how you think your teams are going to fare this upcoming season. Never too early to get into the football conversation. 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. We've got a lot of email and a lot of comments on the website that we'll get to. The website is sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter at sportstalksc. And the Facebook location is Sports Talk Radio Network.
I was just looking at Louisville making some uncharacteristic error at third base. Could have at least gotten one. The sacks are drunk for Clemson, only one out. And if you're Zach Irvin has pitched a marvelous game, you want to give him some rest. But I think Jack would love about 4 more runs before he goes to that bullpen, which has brought out some petrol through the season. As far as Irvin is concerned, Cohen, I got my hats off to him, because I don't know, I can't tell you about Funkhauser, but a lot of pitchers are creatures of habit. And if the schedule is thrown off by rain, some pitchers are thrown off psychologically. For Irwin to bounce back and have a late start, I think that's key for Clemson, that he shows he's sort of a good guy right now as far as Clemson going on, because Clemson will need his pitching, I think, if they last in this tournament.
Well, to this point, he's thrown 81 pitches, 57 for strikes. He has struck out 7. He's allowed 5 hits and 1 run. He's been outstanding. And you know what? If Clemson gets a knock here and gets a couple more runs in, you might be right in that maybe Jack will start thinking about possibly Sunday and saving an arm or two for that. Let's go back to K-Mac in Durham. We gave you some extra time because, figuring out pool play and who advances and who goes home at the ACC tournament is about as difficult as deciphering name the most elaborate formula, the Coca-Cola formula. I think that's more easy to define than this. So what's the simplest way Clemson can get to Sunday?
Well, they're going to need some help after losing to Florida State, because they're a 5 seed, and 5 seeds and Florida State. If they win another game, that'll be 2 wins for Florida State, and that will eliminate Clemson. So obviously, if Florida State wins tonight against North Carolina or Saturday against Louisville, Tigers are done. So they need Florida State to lose both of its next 2 games, and Clemson will have to win against Louisville, which they're on their way to doing now. Still half of a game to play, of course, and they would have to beat North Carolina tomorrow. So that's where things stand at this stage.
Yeah, and this is one of the problems with that format, if I understand it correctly. So Florida State doesn't play again until Saturday. Let's say they lose tonight. All right, so that keeps Clemson's hopes alive. But now Clemson, they finish up tomorrow, but they got to hang around till Saturday, right?
They've got to hang around until that game,
yeah,
which will be 11 o'clock Saturday morning. But you're right, they will have to hang around an extra night. Now, I'm sure Jack Leggett, that's a good problem to have. Go take it.
Yeah.
And, they're playing so well right now, Corn. Again, yesterday they lost the game.
All right, hang on, K-Mac. We got to hit this break. We'll come back to you. Tigers now up 7-1. All right, Clemson taking advantage of its opportunities today. Base hit with the bases loaded. They're up 7-1, and they are still threatening. There's only one out in the inning. Tigers have runners on second and third. So back to K-Mac. That's one of the problems with this format is that, it's, like you said, Jack won't mind, I guess, sitting around. But then again, he's not going to be happy if he sits around to Saturday and then finds out he's got to go home with no chance to play in the championship. So that's one of the problems with this round-robin format they have.
Yeah, I mean, there are pros and cons, and some of the coaches have cooled on it. The pros are you get your schedule set, and you can set your pitching up. Fans know when to show up at the ballpark. You're guaranteed 3 games for the most part, unless you're Georgia Tech or Virginia Tech, and then you played 1 game and packed your bags and went back home. But those are the advantages. You don't have to fight through the losers bracket to burn up a bunch of pitching. But the cons are you can be eliminated. Some teams, before they play their second game, can be eliminated. We've seen that happen in years past in this tournament. I think they've tried to avoid that with the scheduling as much as possible. But the bottom line for Clemson is they're behind the 8 ball a little bit. They need help from North Carolina. They need help from Louisville after this one. The Cardinals will have to beat Florida State on Saturday. But Clemson is in very good shape right now to win this game, up 7-1. Weston Wilson double, as we were talking in that last segment, Corn to go up. Now on Funkhauser. He's got 4 losses this season. One of them against Clemson. He's on his way to 5. And 2 of those 5 losses will be against the Tigers.
Well, Clemson wins this game. That gives them 4 wins over top 10 teams in their last 5 games. The 3 wins at Florida State, the 1 here today, and, of course, that loss to Florida State yesterday. And it should, K-Mac, by all accounts, this should punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament. And another reprieve for Jack Leggett in the mind of Dan Radakovich?
I think so. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about it. The way they finished here, and with Missouri losing and UCF was another last 5 out team, they lost. They're out of their tournament. Clemson was already in. They were one of the last 5 in. Getting this win, certainly I think would punch their ticket, and the win over North Carolina turns it into a slam dunk. And people around Clemson were saying that even before this tournament, Radakovich and some of the people around him were inclined to bring Leggett back, perhaps, the way they had been playing down the stretch. And I think you got to really have a good reason to chase a guy like that off. And I don't think there's a good enough reason to do that now. These guys are playing hard for him. They're peaking at the right time. And this is a team, heck, they go down to Charleston, they can win that regional. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They can go down to Charleston and win that regional. This team could be in a super regional.
Well, don't discount the College of Charleston playing down there, especially if they're playing at Patriots Point. But here's the other thing. If all that comes to fruition, they're going to have to give Jack a contract extension.
Yes, because it's over 2016.
2016, his contract expires. You can't have a coach coaching on a 1-year deal. We'll see what and Radakovich was quoted by Gene Stavikoff as saying he will move quickly after the season's done. Back in a moment. And we're back. It is Sports Talk, the Sports Talk show from Main Street, downtown Columbia, your Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Sports Talk with the hosts with the mosts. I just made that up. Trying to come up with another cliche for the program. The hosts with the mosts. Could say the hostesses with the mostesses. But I think the hosts with the mosts. The most, fill in the blanks. The most, whatever. You fill in the blank. 800-956-7266 is the number. Clemson continuing to roll Louisville 7-1 at the ACC tournament. I want to catch you up on the high school playoffs now. We're heading down the stretch here for baseball and softball. Let's catch you up on where things stand because we've got championships.
On ladder.
We'll get to that in due time, okay? Are you suggesting I'm playing favorites here?
No.
I'm not playing favorites here.
Just suggesting you having a vested interest.
Wando won the 4A state championship yesterday, 6-4 over J.O. Mann. So they win the 4A championship. They do it in 2 games. You know, Wando, the state's largest school, and from what I understand, they're building another school in Mount Pleasant that will split Wando, and they won't be the largest school in the state anymore. If they do in Anderson what is being talked about, that will make – they're talking about combining T.L. Hanna and Westside and making that Anderson City High School, and it will become the largest school in the state by 2016 once Wando is split. They will be called the Titans.
They would break up that come up with something.
What? I'm just telling you what's going on.
I'm just thinking.
Don't shoot the messenger.
No, what I'm saying is somebody just said, that was a great movie. Remember the Titans? I mean, 8 and 10. Come on. Plus, I don't like the idea of those 2 long rivals in Anderson combining.
Yeah. Well, economics and drives everything, and I guess that must be what they're considering up there. But it's not a done deal yet by any means. 3A state championship baseball, and game 1's tonight. Belton Honeypath and Hartsville just getting underway, playing at BHP. We got I think Barry Larkin, Belton Honeypath, working for us tonight. See, one of our assistants is named Larkin Belton. He's one of these guys with 2 last names. I hate people with 2 last names. Anyway, he's got that, and that's how I remember his name. Barry Larkin, Belton Honeypath.
Okay.
So he looked at me when I said Belton Honeypath. Hartsville and BHP playing tonight, first game of the 3A state championship. The 2A state championship in baseball. And we've got 96 won the state championship yesterday. Beat Dillon 6-3. So 96 wins it in 2 games over Dillon. That's a sweep there. And, okay, you asked about the 1A state championship in baseball. It's going to be one of the all-time great showdowns of Latta and Louisville playing at Sherraw High School tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Get your tickets early because tickets are going. You might have to go to eBay to get your tickets or Ticketron or where else can you get a ticket? Tickets
up an oak tree and see it, can't you?
Tickets will be hard to come by. Latta and Louisville playing in Sherraw for the 1A state championship tomorrow. Louisville won the first game 9-3. Latta, with his back to the wall, heroically dug down deep, as we Latins tend to do when the pressure's on, and we win it 6-2 in game 2. The Latins, Latanians, Latations. Now to a softball. The 4A softball looks like this. We have a decisive 3rd game coming up tomorrow. It will be at Beckham Field at USC at 6 o'clock between Clover and Somerville. Okay? So you can go watch a little high school championship action over at Beckham Field. 3A softball. Let's see where we stand there. We've got a championship game. Well, no, we don't. We got the first game tonight. That's right. 3A is running behind. Hartsville and Union County playing tonight at Union County, game 1. So Hartsville's playing for the baseball and the softball 3A championship. 2A softball. we have got a championship game coming up tomorrow between Andrew Jackson and Aner. That will be at South Florence High School at 6:30. AJ won the first game 4-3. Aner, the Blue Jackets, won the second game 8-5. Aner has a historical place in my heart, athletically speaking. You want to know why?
That's not the place where you hit that.
No, that was Green Sea Floyd's.
Oh, okay.
Career high in basketball scored at Aner.
4 points.
10 points.
Oh, was it 10? Oh, okay.
But I remember their court they had a really funny court. The court kind of sat down in a pit, and the fans, there was this big wall that surrounded the court, and the fans sat up and looked down on you like you were in a pit.
Oh, yeah, it was an old way they used to build gyms. And they had the box seats, the big box.
Well, I don't know, but the floor was warped, and I remember trying to drill or bounce. The ball would always shoot a different way. Yeah, we must have had 30 turnovers because the floor was warped.
Boston Garden.
Yeah.
Floor.
Yeah.
What about it? Was it tile?
No, it was wood.
Okay.
It was wood. Yeah, what do you got? What do you have, State Man?
I could just envision a scene out of Hoosiers, back in the 50s with your short shorts and
yes. That was quite the looker as a basketball player.
That would be frightening. That would be frightening.
10 points. That was 10 points.
You ever
ever
played on a carpeted floor?
Oh yeah, tile and carpet.
I can't deal with those things. I say there will be no carpet burns. I am not diving for any loose balls on a carpeted.
And of course, you asked about the 1A softball championship.
Yes, I did.
Yes. Well, it's a championship game tomorrow.
I was going to get it anyway.
Let's see. Hang on a second. I hit the wrong button.
Oops.
Back to softball. There we go. Championship game tomorrow between Latta and Dixie. Quite a game yesterday. I was told up at Dixie won it 4-3 in the last inning. A girl, the Latta pitcher, was 25-0. She pitches every game for them.
Right.
And so she's 25-1. They're going to play at White Knoll tomorrow at 6:00. Get your tickets early because these are traditional, long time, going back to the 60s rivals. Latta and Dixie will play for the 1A state championship. You know where Dixie's located, right? You know what town it's in. I think I told you this before.
You said due west, didn't you?
It's good guess. The State Man said it's in the south.
That's
very good, State Man. Yeah, it's in due west.
Due
right
west.
There across from Erskine. Erskine College is right there across the street.
Yeah, but it's interesting if somebody asks you I don't know if it exists anymore, but anybody asks you where's Dixie Junior College, and if I'm not mistaken, it's in Utah, isn't it?
It is. There are a lot of great schools gone by the boards. I can remember, Slater Marietta? They had a really good athletic program back in the day. Remember Maywood High School?
I don't remember Maywood. I remember Riley High.
I don't remember Riley. Where was that?
I think that was just before, I think about an hour or two outside of Charleston.
Yeah, I've been a lot of them that have come and gone over the years. All right, there you go. You are up to date on baseball and softball. Congratulations to those who've already won titles, and good luck to those who will be playing for titles moving forward. And Clemson is continuing to do its thing. The Tigers are just piling it on at 7-1. They haven't scored anymore, but they've got runners on base. So they are sending out a real strong message here against one of the top 5 teams in the country, the number 1 seed in this tournament, a team with a very high RPI, a team that beat them 2 out of 3 in the regular season. Clemson is sending in a very strong message to that selection committee with this performance.
Well, this is the interesting thing. Now, if I'm Jack Leggett, as a baseball fan, I can tell Jack Leggett this. Funds in the bank.
You can't do that. How do you do that?
You may have enough of them right now. I mean, how many times have we seen in tournament play, a postseason play, a team just roar out of the gate and score a bunch of runs, and then the next game they can't buy one? For whatever reason.
By the way, congratulations to Christchurch. They won the 1A golf state championship in boys. We'll check out these other results in a moment, and the Braves report coming up too. right, time for the Braves Report, brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bower Parkway, Columbia. You pay less for more by Founders. Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals. And by Mattress by Appointment, real simple. You call, you save 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets. 803-530-8549. We bring you Mike Morgan by appointment now here on Sports Talk to talk about the Braves. Winners last night. And, seems like anytime not going to say anytime, it's not 100% the case, but oftentimes pitcher making a first start against a team they've never seen him before. They don't know what to expect. He goes out and gives a good start and gets a win. That happened for the Braves last night with Williams Perez, and now they've got a chance with Tehran going to the mound tonight to get a little something going.
Yeah, they do. Last night was a pleasant surprise. I don't think many people saw that coming, but Perez baffled Tampa hitter the better part of his outing, and then Jason Grilli, who's been, speaking of pleasant surprises, having basically an all-star year and replacing Craig Kimbrell, who, by the way, has struggled a little bit in San Diego, somewhat surprising. But nevertheless, you go now, and we talked about the beginning of the year. I don't do the standings till around Memorial Day. Well, here we are, embarking on Memorial Day weekend. The Braves with a win today would be a 500 team, 20-20, as we're at about the quarter pole mark, and you can start making some more real assessments of where this team is. I think if you were to tell most people, considering all they lost and all the changes, that at this point we'd be looking at a 500 team, I think most people would have taken that realistically. So it's a good opportunity to not only get to 500 tonight, but maybe more than that, because excuse me, Milwaukee is not a very good baseball team, and certainly like the pitching matchup tonight. Garza's really struggled, and I know Tehran has struggled at times, but I'm still a big believer in Julio Tehran.
As far as the Braves are concerned last night, I guess if you wanted to see something that you can give hope to is everybody they brought out of that bullpen was effective last night. That has not been the case in a good while.
No, it hasn't. You're right. I mean, the middle relief for this bullpen in particular has really struggled this year. But last night got the job done, and I think that's obviously going to be key the rest of the way. Jim Johnson is pitching Grilli at the back end. Of course, had a little bit of a dip in the road there, but he has pitched better. Now it's time for the rotation. It can't just be Shelby Miller. It's got to be some other guys like Alex Wood, like Julio Tehran tonight, that have to live up to their billing and start pitching like they have on the back of their baseball cards. And if so, combined with a lineup that's been opportunistic, then all of a sudden this team appears to be in a lot better shape than maybe it was a week ago.
Speaking of billing, is that catching on? They're in the late innings, time to fire up the grill?
It has. I'm sorry, I'm battling a toothache here, guys. Jason Grilli is a real likable guy to begin with. He's part of that new kind of mentality of this year's team. Very much not about me, more about us. Leadership. There's just a different vibe when you hang around these guys as compared to in years past. And Grilli's one of those guys. He was an all-star a couple of years ago in Pittsburgh. A lot of people might make light of the fact that he's going to be a 39-year-old closer soon, but who cares? If he's getting the job done, he's getting it done. He's still throwing it up there at 95. So the grill, the light up the grill, fire up the grill has been a catchy little slogan this year. And like anything else, it's a lot more catchy when you're actually winning games and when you're getting the job done.
So are you going to have a root canal?
I had something done to my teeth today, and I have nerve endings that are just firing. It's as if somebody's taking an ice pick to my gums every 30 seconds. I appreciate
I'm
that.
impressed. I mean, you really haven't been slurring your words as much as normal, and
yes,
it's really
well that, and I've cut back on my martinis before this segment.
That helps as well. Okay, Mike, hope you feel better. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, guys.
Mike Morgan with our Braves report. Braves and the Brewers. Brewers are playing a little bit better under Greg Counsell What did they do yesterday against Detroit? They were 8-7 under him going into that game yesterday against the Tigers. Do you remember what they did?
I don't remember.
Yeah, whatever. They're right around 500 with him, so playing a little bit better. But this was they had that great collapse last year, and it carried over to the start of this year. They got off to such a bad start, they fired their manager. But Ryan Braun starting to heat up, and apparently doing it. Let's hope not.
Say that.
Got 3 home runs in the past 5 games going into yesterday's game. So he is one to watch at Turner Field. We'll be back with recruiting. All right, top of the 7th in Durham. Irwin's still on the mound, and Clemson still leading by a comfortable margin of 7-1. We'll get back to K-Mac in just a little bit. Let's give you the recruiting. A lot of stuff to tell you about there. Checked on Avery McCall the other day, the quarterback from Dillon, who reminds me a pretty good bit of Everett Golson. Similar size, similar playing style. Of course, USC and Clemson, they've passed on him as well, so he's going to go elsewhere. This is a kid who'll go into this season with 5,500 passing yards in his career, looking for a 4th straight. So he tells me Oregon State was in to see him throw last week, and he likes Oregon State. They run that offense at Dillon. They run the Oregon State offense, so he likes them. Also still looking at North Carolina, NC State, East Carolina, Appalachian State, and Florida State. No visits during the spring, but he hopes to get to App and North Carolina, NC State, and possibly Florida State this summer. Right now, no favorite. Maybe a decision before the season. Yesterday, USC recruiters Elliott and Spurrier Jr. were in Jacksonville. They checked in on offensive lineman Jordan Johnson. It's a target for the Gamecocks. One of his offers, along with Louisville, Miami, Ole Miss, North Carolina, Wake, Georgia Southern, Central Florida, Georgia Tech. And he said South Carolina's way up on his list, one of the top schools. He was there for the spring game. Plans to hit up a few camps this summer: USC, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Florida, Wake Forest. He has not narrowed his list yet and does not have any favorite. Some other notes: linebacker Cash Daniel, Paintsville, Kentucky, announces August 13th USC's an offer. Clemson offered 2017 defensive lineman Cam Spence of IMG Academy in Bradenton. Defensive back Chris Smith of South Point was offered this week by SC State. Linebacker Tobias Little of Atlanta released a top 5 of Clemson, USC, Missouri, NC State, and Georgia Southern in no order. Offensive lineman Josh Ball, Fredericksburg, Virginia, a USC target offered by Auburn. Another USC target, offensive lineman Brett Heggie, Mount Dora, Florida, picked up an offer from Florida and one from Louisville. Linebacker Kenneth Ruff of Fort Lauderdale. He'll release a top 10 on June the 1st. He's been favoring USC. Receiver Josh Immature Bahi of Sewanee, Georgia, committed Southern Cal. He was a USC target. 2017 running back Keyshawn Bryan of Plantation, Florida, offered by Clemson. USC offered. 2017 receiver Daquan Green of Tampa. They also offered 2016 defensive end Ja'Kai Polite and his teammate, offensive lineman Marcus Tatum of Daytona Beach. Clemson offered 2018 defensive back Ashanti Samuel Jr. of Fort Lauderdale and 2018 defensive back Pat Surtain of Plantation, Florida, and 2017 receiver Trayvon Grimes of Fort Lauderdale. There you go. Top of the hour break. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblue, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back. It is Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornblute, the professor, Tom Hayes, State Man Graham Pope. We have Barry Larkin Belton Honeypath, also known as Larkin Belton. It'll take me another week before I can eliminate all the reminders to his name. It takes me a while when the newcomers jump on board. And K-Mac is in Durham. We'll catch back up with him. Tigers are still up 7-1, batting in the bottom of the seventh inning. So they're closing in on this impressive win at the ACC tournament against Louisville. More good stuff coming up. We'll update some other for you in a moment. Let's go to Jim down at Pawleys Island listening to us out of Charleston on 98.9, and we appreciate that very much. Jim, how are you this evening? Good to have you with us.
Fellas, a couple of points, and then I'll hang up and listen off the air. When these commitments are made to these kids, year 18, 17, that far in advance, does the school really have a true commitment to that scholarship? And secondly, baseball, college baseball has, I think, something like 11 or 12 or 13 full, the equivalent of those full scholarships, but I think those coaches break them all up, and I'll talk about that and what you know about, for instance, South Carolina, Clemson, and the other D1 schools as far as how they handle those scholarships. Enjoy your show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. The baseball question, baseball gets a late. They break it up. Nobody gets a full ride, and they have to split that money up. 7 or so
20,
players, I think, is
26.
26, 27 players. That's how they have to divide it up. And some players just get books. Some players get books and lodging, and I mean, they're very creative in how they do it. So, and some schools have some additional monies that they can give to these baseball players. It's something that Clemson has not had, and I've got to go back and look that up. I've seen some writing about it, where South Carolina has some because of something where South Carolina. I can't explain it. It's something with South Carolina and some money that they can get their baseball players at Clemson in recruiting has not been able to afford because they don't qualify for it. I can look that up. I've read some of that on the internet from folks up at Clemson complaining about why they maybe aren't recruiting as well as some other schools. They can't offer something these other schools can offer. As far as your first question, no, these offers that are being handed out in advance, 2018, 2019, to out-of-state kids, if the kids don't play well, if they're not as good as you thought they were going to be, they'll be forgotten about. Those scholarships, all scholarship offers now are verbal anyway. But if you make one to an in-state kid, you had better know what you're doing, because if you pull that scholarship after it becomes public, then you get fried. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Qualifying just getting underway in Charlotte, or will be shortly, and we'll keep you up to date on that as they get ready to qualify for the Coca-Cola 600. Day one of the tournament in Fort Worth, Crown Plaza Invitational at Colonial. They had some rain issues this morning, so it delayed the start, but they are playing 664. Like golfers are still on the course. George McNeil of 565, Danny Lee, Ben Martin, David Hearn in at 4 under 66. So another good start for Ben Martin. Jordan Spieth playing in his home course. He is on the course at 10 under. I'm sorry, at through 10 holes, he is 4 under par. So a good start for him. And as far as some others that we, of course, watch on a weekly basis here on Sports Talk, Lucas Glover on the course at 2 under. Scott Brown 1 over through 12. Bill McGirt plus 373 for him. Sam Saunders in the field, 6 over 76 for the former Clemson standout. I also wanted to mention, we were talking about state championships. I mentioned the 1A boys golf champion. That went to championship. That went to Christchurch. There is no 2A golf tournament, but in 3A boys golf completed in the last couple of days, AC Flora wins the championship by spin. Congratulations to the Falcons. And the 3A boys golf championship, and it goes to Boiling Springs. They played this at Furman, and Boiling Springs won it by 4 shots over Fort Dorchester. So congratulations to the Bulldogs of Boiling Springs for getting a state championship. So I guess these final games in baseball and softball will wrap up the high school sports schedule in South Carolina for this year. We'll take a little bit of a breather, and before you know it, early August will roll around, and we'll have the start of high school football practice, scrimmages, jamborees, and then week 0 will be here before you know it. Can't get here fast enough, can't last long enough. That's my thoughts on it.
Wish 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, track and field was last weekend or 2 weekends ago. Yeah. Feaster ran an incredible 100 meters, one of the fastest in the country this year for his age group. Maybe the fastest. He really blitzed the track. All right, let's go back to K-Mac. Tigers are on cruise control, looking good in beating Louisville at this point. K-Mac, bring us up to speed.
Yeah, still all Clemson all the time here. 7-1 Tigers as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. And Clemson is the home team here, so Louisville has 3 outs to make up at least 6 runs, depending on what does with this half of the 8th inning. And Zach Irwin has been outstanding through 8 innings. He struck out 11. He's not walked anyone. He scattered 6 hits and has only given up the 1 run that Louisville played in the 2nd inning. So an impressive start. Impressive day at the plate for the Tigers, who have 10 hits that have turned into 7 runs, and well on their way to staying alive not only here in the ACC tournament, but in all likelihood punching a ticket to the postseason and getting a lot of people off of Jack Leggett's back. Let's face it, Corn, a month ago, we thought I'd be coming up here maybe for Jack Leggett's swan song, but now it looks like Jack Leggett is risen. It's a resurrection story for Jack Leggett.
The Phoenix has risen.
Well, maybe he has and maybe he hasn't. I mean, he made the tournament last year with a little more ease than he's going to make it this year, and he still had to sweat it out for a couple of weeks after the season as Radakovich did his postseason. Now, apparently, Radakovich is not going to take a whole heck of a lot of time after this season to render a decision based on his comments to Gene Sapakoff earlier this week. Does that mean he's already made his mind up regardless of how this plays out? He's already made his mind up one way or the other?
That would be, unless he's decided he's going to keep him, and that might be the case, because a lot of those other comments were peaking at the right time, and look how they played, and this was coming off that Florida State series, and it says a lot about a coach and his staff when they've had to deal with all of the people outside of the program. And Leggett made a comment earlier this week when he said, "Stay loyal." When he was talking about his team, they hear all the stuff, the rumblings, the noise about the program and about Jack Leggett, and they've had to deal with that. But despite that, they mail it in. They didn't quit. Time they're about to knock off the number 3 team in the country, the top seed in this tournament, in dominating fashion. They went down to Florida State, another top 10 team, and beat them 3 times in Tallahassee. First time that's ever happened. They're going to play themselves into the postseason and maybe have a chance to go down to Charleston, where they'll have a ton of fans and win a regional. I think he's done more than enough to keep his job. I'm biased. I think Jack Leggett's a great coach. I think his record and his bio speak for itself. The guy, who are you going to go out and replace him with? You're not going to find a better coach than Jack Leggett.
Well, see, and Phil brought it up. It's not only a vote of confidence. It's almost like, okay, I'm not coming in here to hear you say I'm fired or I get to keep my job now. A contract extension has to be on that table. I mean, because he can't, of all the wear and tear he's had with the negative stuff and how that can hurt you on the recruiting trail, now he needs a boost on the recruiting trail, which says, here's the vote of confidence. Now I can tell these guys, see, I told you I was going to be here.
I agree. You give them the contract extension, and fans need to understand, and this doesn't just include Clemson fans, but South Carolina fans across the board. Baseball on the college level has changed now with the scholarships, and you have to give at least, 25%. Kids that used to go to South Carolina for book money or Clemson for book money, they're going to the College of Charleston now, and Coastal Carolina, and Furman, and Wofford, and Winthrop. And that's why those mid-major teams are beating Clemson and South Carolina in the midweek. That's why Charleston's hosting a regional now. They have big-time talent. That's why Charleston was in a super regional last year. It's a different game now, and Leggett has had to recalibrate the way they do things, but he still knows the game. He still knows how to prepare a team, and they're still one of the top programs in the country year in and year out. They've missed the postseason once in 2008. He's done his job.
Do you happen to remember, we had a caller asked this question, and I could not give him a direct answer. I could only give him a roundabout answer. I know Larry Williams at Tiger Illustrated has written about this, the advantage that a number of schools have versus Clemson in recruiting because of additional non-athletic funds that they can use to give to baseball players to offset the fact that they have to divide up 11.7 scholarships. Do you happen to remember what that is, what that advantage is, what it is that those schools have that Clemson doesn't have yet, and they're trying to get into it?
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers. I know in a story that Ed McGranahan wrote about Leggett, he touched on that, and that's one of the things that Clemson's supposedly trying to do is get up to speed with some of these other programs that have those advantages. And I wasn't even aware of that. I didn't know that you could just come up with other money to get players if you can't give them an athletic scholarship, but I guess there's a workaround for everything. And whatever Jack Leggett needs, whatever Chad Holbrook needs, you have to keep up with the Joneses there, but they still relatively, they haven't fallen off that far. And I know people say, well, look where Clemson's dropped every year, but that's really kind of been the time a lot of these big time programs like Texas and Cal State Fullerton and South Carolina, about the time they changed the scholarship rule where you have to give everybody a certain amount, a certain percentage. You can't just divide up one scholarship 10 ways anymore.
All right, hang on, K-Mac. We'll get back to you. I'm just looking at some headlines here on some stories recently written about Jack Leggett. Here's one that says, Leggett's run at Clemson nearing end. Here's another one, Clemson AD, Leggett job status call, won't take long. Clouds are forming out there, but he might blow them away with a win tonight. Okay, they're going to the ninth in Durham. Let's go back to K-Mac. We'll cut him loose, and hopefully he will be quick, and he will be able to get us some Jack Leggett comments here before we leave the air tonight. If we go quickly here, Pat Krall coming on to pitch the top of the ninth for the Tigers. So, K-Mac, things look good, 7-1 lead, and you got your track shoes on, ready to hustle on down and get us some Jack Leggett before we sign off?
I do, but unfortunately, I'm at the mercy of the Atlantic Coast Conference, and they bring losing coach and player out first, so we'll have to abide by their rules. I'll see if I can tap on John Swafford's shoulder and see if we can speed the process up a little bit. But it will be on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, so people don't have to fret. They can go there and check out the full story and audio there at the website. And Clemson will play tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Hopefully the weather will hold up, and it's supposed to be better tomorrow. So they'll play North Carolina at 3 o'clock. And North Carolina, Florida State, a big game to scoreboard watch if you're a Clemson fan. You are rooting hard for the North Carolina Tar Heels tonight. You are putting on your powder blue shirts, your powder blue, I guess, your argoil sweaters. You're getting some Chardonnay out and looking at the stock market. And I'd
rather put on the jersey of the Red Army before I'd put on a Tar Heel jersey, to be honest with you. But all right, State Man, our investigative staff, State Man, Barry Larkin, Belton Honeypath, they've done some work here in the background. Here's that information I have been seeking. Story from Stephen Bradley from Upstate Today from earlier this year, I guess. Anyway, February. He is basically bound by that 11.7 scholarship limit. Many of his closest rivals have ways to circumvent it. South Carolina, for example, was able to land Jackie Bradley Jr. and several other players from the state of Virginia, thanks to academic common market. That's what it is, the academic common market. The ACM allows schools to offer in-state tuition to students from partnering states so long as those students enroll in a major that is not offered in that state. The program applies to all students, not just athletes, but the bottom line is South Carolina offers it and Clemson doesn't. And there are other schools. So that's the big thing. Other schools have other things to offer, apparently, that Clemson can't, to help offset the fact that these baseball players, they don't get a lot of money, so they can get them you can from this, out of something to South Carolina. If it all figures out the right way, they pay in-state tuition. So now what they get helps, and then they get other financial aid as well. Clemson can't offer that. And so what they're saying here is that Clemson misses out on some quality players because of that.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. I think that's why the Mississippi schools were complaining about that, because I think neighboring LSU and some other schools around them could take players out of Mississippi that they couldn't sign because they couldn't offer the same financial package.
The academic story, this, I think it's something that Clemson is trying through its academic people to get into so they can share in this as well. We'll see what happens with that. We'll be right back. Louisville's across a run, top of the ninth, 2 outs, runner on first, 7-2. Clemson trying to close it out, and it looks like the Tigers are going to do it right now. Final out has been recorded. Clemson wins, and we'll see if, from an NCAA standpoint, we'll see if that's enough to get the Tigers in. A win over Louisville, impressive. 3 wins over Florida State last weekend in dominating fashion. And they had one bad inning yesterday. I know you don't take that into consideration in baseball but they don't. I mean, a loss is a loss, but they had one bad inning yesterday against Florida State. They gave up 3 runs in 1 inning, and that was a difference in that ball game. So the Tigers win it against Louisville. They're going to look back. They're going to make the tournament now, I would think. They also have a win over the College of Charleston in their last few games. Their last most recent games, they have the sweep of Florida State. Now the win over Louisville. They have that win against Furman. They took 2 of 3 from Georgia State. They had that win against the College of Charleston, which was a ranked team at the time. So from May the 6th through today, what's today, May 21st? Mm-hmm. The Tigers lost just twice. So they have finished strongly. They've got some quality wins. They look like a team that's starting to peak. They've got a marquee pick. That's the thing. If they can make a regional, I mean, you know that they're probably not going to mess around. They'll be maybe a 2 or 3 seed. So they'll have to pitch their ace, Crownover right out of the gate, and he gives you a great chance to win that first game. The way Irwin pitched today, you got to like the way they would stack up in that second game. So don't sell them short in the regional, which they should make after this win today over Louisville. Hopefully they'll move quickly, and K-Mac will be able to grab Jack Leggett and get him on with us in some form or fashion. Here the next Louisville has to go before the media. 7-2, final numbers 7-10-2 for Clemson, 2-7-2 for Louisville. Tigers left 7, Cardinals left 8. Offensively for the Tigers today, Duggar had 2 hits, Krieger had 2 hits, Jolly had 2 hits, and Roman had a hit and 2 RBIs, and Wilson had a hit and 2 RBIs. Irwin started, went 8 innings, 6 hits, allowed 1 run, struck out 11, had 10 ground outs today. So he's getting the ball beaten into the ground. Obviously had something working, lines of a sinker or something like that to have the Cardinals hitting the ball into the dirt. Threw 119 pitches, 84 for strikes. That's being on your game right there. So he's 7-4. Krall pitched the last inning. Tigers. So Clemson improves to 32-26 with this win over Louisville. And
I told you Jack wasn't going to that bullpen early.
No, he rode them all the way, didn't he? He rode them all the way, and hopefully we'll hear from Jack before we sign off tonight. Could be tight towards the end of the program, but hopefully we'll be able to get that to you. They are qualifying now at Charlotte. This is the first round of qualifying ongoing. Current leader is Matt Kenseth, 193.458. Top 5 on the track right now. Kenseth, Kevin Harvick, David Reagan, Jeff Gordon. Speaking of Gordon, he has decided what he will do when he retires from driving after this season.
He's going to host a late-night talk show.
Well, there's an opening. Better than that, he is going to join Fox as a full-time analyst. He will join Mike Joy and Darrell Waltrip in a 3-man booth for Fox. He's going to be replacing Larry McReynolds, who will move to an in-race analyst role alongside Michael Waltrip and Chris Myers. Gordon's first race in the booth will be next February's Daytona 500. And he's a natural. He's a natural for television. It'll work out great. A couple of other things to pass along that I didn't get a chance to mention yesterday. Former USC wide receiver Brian Scott is a new boys basketball coach at Marion High School. He was a 3-sport standout at Darlington and then went on to play wide receiver at South Carolina. Also announced yesterday, Steve Smith, who won 2 state championships with Raymond Felton at Atlanta, is the new head coach at Mullins for boys basketball. And he'll have Raymond's nephew, Jalik Felton, a rising junior at Mullins, on the team to coach. That makes your life a heck of a lot easier when you have this kid is really highly regarded, committed to Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And they say he's a terrific player. So nice way to inherit a team and inherit a superstar player. The Bovada betting service has released latest odds on the national championship in college football. The current odds are Ohio State 7-2. They got all those quarterbacks. What's his name decided not to transfer. He's still at Ohio State. Everybody said he was going to transfer. Braxton Miller, yeah. So he's staying. The other quarterbacks are there as well. So loaded is Ohio State. Alabama 7-1. TCU 10-1. Auburn is 12-1. Florida State is a 12-1. I don't know if this came out prior to the word that Golson was going there. Southern Cal's 18, Notre Dame 20-1. Clemson is 22-1. You know what? I might put $100 down on that. Get a nice return if they happen to win it.
You know, it's interesting though.
South Carolina, by the way, is 100-1.
And that's when South Carolina plays its best.
Yeah, when they're 100-1 odds.
When there's
maybe I should put $100 down on that. Let's see.
Yeah.
The longest odds on this list: South Florida 500-1. You can get Maryland at 500-1. You can get Northwestern at 500-1. So any of these teams, your 500-1 odds teams. Let's see if any of these teams possibly could win the national championship. Here you go. The longest odds: Boston College, California, Central Florida, Cincinnati, Duke, Iowa, Marshall, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, Oregon State, Pittsburgh, Rutgers, and South Florida. If you took $100, if you took $1,000, put it down on that, on one of those teams, and got lucky, get yourself a nice payday.
I think I'd take $1,000 and take it to the grocery store and see how far I can stretch it.
The odds on the Heisman Trophy: Ezekiel Elliott, running back, Ohio State, 6-1. Leonard Fournette, running back, LSU, 15-2. Trayvon Boykin, quarterback, TCU, 8-1. Nick Chubb, running back of Georgia, 8-1. Dak Prescott, quarterback, Mississippi State, 8-1. Cardale Jones, who might not at Ohio State, he is 12-1. Everett Golson. Oh, this was done after he transferred to Florida State, so this is up to date. Everett Golson listed 14-1. Deshaun Watson is a 20-1 pick to win the Heisman.
Well, you know, the interesting thing is people talk about Florida State. Now, you got to remember that, you know, Everett Golson is taking a leap of faith. You know, just on the surface, you hear Florida State, and everybody says, oh, yeah, great, Florida State. But if we didn't go through all these names and who's won this and who won that, I'm a quarterback. And then I just uncover, it won't show you who the teams are. And I'll say, Everett Golson, here's a team that pretty good team, and they've got all their starters on the offensive line coming back. And here's a team that's lost, 3, 4 out of the starters on their offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Which one are you going to? I doubt in a blind draw, Everett Golson would go to that. But because it's Florida State, well, they'll probably reload. I'm going to take my chances here. So he's taking a little bit of a gamble out some inexperienced players on their offensive line from the start.
Yeah, but they got depth at running back and talent, and they got size at wide receiver. And you know what? He runs around well enough to get away from pass rushers. Back in a moment. right, the Braves are winning over Milwaukee, 1-0. And let's update some high school stuff from guys who are tweeting scores. 3A baseball, Belton Honeypath leading Hartsville 4-0, top of the 6th. 3A softball, Union County 10-0 over Hartsville. That's a final. And game 2 will be Saturday in Hartsville. So those are the only 2 games going on today. Qualifying ongoing in Charlotte. They're very close to the end. May, in fact, be done with the first round. Matt Kenseth, the fastest, 193.458. Kevin Harvick, David Reagan, Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski, Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch, Jamie McMurray, Carl Edwards, and Kurt Busch. That's your top 10. And apparently we're done with the first round of qualifying. We'll keep an eye on things as they move to round 2. Clemson a winner over Louisville, 7-2. Hopefully we'll get some comments from Jack Leggett before we sign off. If not, it'll all be up on our website, sportstalksc.com, the one place you can go to hear from the Tigers after their win tonight over Louisville. A football note, Alabama, Wisconsin, of course, they're going to play at AT&T Stadium September 8th to open the season, and they have set the kickoff on ABC for that game at 8 o'clock. 105 days to go before they kick down the starting quarterback. It's one of the big questions going into the season because they came out of spring still a little bit unsettled. I mean, they've got talent, no doubt about it, but they have not determined yet who's going to be their starting quarterback. So that'll be a big question mark. A lot of teams, you look at the league, how many teams in the SEC are really set at quarterback? Mississippi State would be one. Kentucky would be one.
Maybe.
So I think they're pretty set with their guy. I'm just trying to think quickly. Arkansas is set with their guy. He's not particularly – look, he's particularly great, but he is their guy, and they're pretty set with him. Of course, they run the ball so well at Arkansas. They don't need to have the quarterback do a whole bunch of great things.
Yeah, their play action, they run the ball so well, their play action, you almost think that there's going to be somebody wide open, and they usually are as far as that's concerned. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I think that's what makes college football one of the great things. You never know who's going to come out as a quarterback, and you don't know how effective that person is going to be until you see him play.
Missouri's got their quarterback back. Yeah,
and he's 2 different quarterbacks. He can be the good quarterback one day, Matty Mark, and the bad Matty at some points in the football game.
Let's see. Anybody else? Georgia doesn't. Florida's got their quarterback back. I don't know if that's a good thing for them or not. Let me think. Anybody else? Tennessee's got got their quarterback back. Guy that kind of started the latter part of the season. I like Josh Dobbs. I think that makes Tennessee a very dangerous team. I think he gives them that element of athleticism at quarterback that Worley really didn't give them. So I look for Tennessee to be more dangerous offensively because of that. ACC, I tell you what, we talk so much about Clemson and Florida State. Don't forget about Georgia Tech. I love their quarterback. When he's got a good quarterback and a quarterback he's confident in, he's usually pretty dangerous.
That can throw.
Yeah, well, this guy can run and throw. He's very good last year. I think Georgia Tech in the Coastal Division has to be dealt with and probably should be the favorite in the Coastal Division, probably over Miami in the preseason.
And, of course, now, Duke ain't no gimme. I don't care who they have on the field.
I still haven't given them all due respect.
Cutcliffe, yeah, but with
all
Cutcliffe,
due respect.
Everybody talks about who was the coach of Tennessee that was fired?
Philip Fulmer.
Well, part of that duo was Cutcliffe. So when Cutcliffe also hauled behind, that's Tennessee fell behind too, because Cutcliffe was one heck of a quarterback coach. There at Tennessee.
If we don't get Jack on the show here, I can do my Jack impersonation and kind of tell you what he's going to say. It's tough. Tough win. Tough kids. Tough. I think we're in. It's been tough, and we battled.
Mhm.
Thank you, Steve.
And
Battled.
I'd be
tough.
I'd be scared to play us right now.
Radakovich, is that a disease?
Oh man, come on now.
It's tough. But we'll be tough tomorrow. Tough against North Carolina. Beat them 2 out of 3. Battled and tough. That's my jack.
We got to get some bullpen help.
All right, we'll hit a break, and we'll be back to wrap it up. Not expecting to have the audio here in time, but you can get on the website, SportsTalk. Couple of more recruiting notes that I've seen on Twitter. USC has offered offensive lineman Will Putnam. He's a 2016 guy. He's from Harrisburg, North Carolina. Will Putnam. And linebacker Torrey DeLessaline. Not sure if I'm saying that right. DeLessaline from Hillcrest was offered by Colorado State. You're going to see Colorado State popping up around the state of South Carolina because isn't that where Billy Napier is? Didn't he go out there with Bobo? He's at Alabama still. He was at Colorado State. He was at Colorado State at one time with McElwain. Somebody from South Carolina is out there at Colorado State, aren't they?
I'm not sure. Who did they hire?
David Reeves. No. David Reeves is in Florida, I think. Again,
yeah.
Look it up for me, State man. Do the quick research. Let's update a couple of things. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention before we update a couple of things. So we're jumping all over the place here. Baseball Writers Association of America released their All-America team today for Division II. And on the first team, utility player Matt Rubino from Francis Marion, who hit .431 this year, 19 doubles, 8 home runs, 63 RBI, slugging percentage of .713. On the second team, Albert Bauer, first baseman from Newberry, senior, batted .427, 24 doubles, 16 home runs, 59 RBIs for him, a .796 slugging percentage. On the third team, Brandon Overstreet from Erskine. He batted .417. He's a shortstop. He batted .417, 11 home runs, 61 RBIs. and he stole 9 out of 12 bases. So congratulations to those folks for making the All-America team by the writers. And let's get over here to more baseball scores for you.
By the way, today I didn't know when you were giving that Orioles score. The Orioles did win 5-4. 4 runs in the first inning on Steve Pearce grand slam in that game.
Yeah. He's been a good player for them since they picked him up. Let's see. The SEC, Texas A&M, taking it to Vanderbilt, 6-1, top of the 7th. And still to come out there, LSU and Arkansas. Alabama beat Missouri, and Florida beat Auburn in elimination games. Southern Conference tournament. And we've got Greensboro and the Citadel tied at 3 in the top of the 5th. Wofford beat Furman 16-7. Mercer beat Citadel earlier today, 3-2. Still to come, Western Carolina and Furman. And Big South, of course, Coastal was off today in the Big South. Winthrop beat Campbell 2-1. Longwood is playing High Point. They're scoreless in the 4th, and the winner of that game, I think the winner of that game gets coached tomorrow.
Colorado State head coach Mike Bobo.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So there's a connection. I mean, he'll be
but I thought there was a South Carolina guy out there, too. There's not, I'm being told. Okay. Hey, thank you, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.